All right. Well, good morning, or good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the day. Um, I am sitting here with Rachel Chamberlain. She is a Christian romance writer who lives in the Heartland with her husband and bouncing baby boy. With a bachelor's degree in English and creative writing, Rachel loves crafting stories that will make you swoon, sigh, and give you all the butterflies. When she's not daydreaming about her book characters, you might find her reading, writing poetry, or spending time with her family. Sign up for her newsletter to keep up to date on her current works in progress at her um, website. And I'll have you just put that up if you don't mind. It's with rachelchamberlain.com. And I'll put it
Yeah,
in the notes as well. So anyway, so welcome, Rachel, and
thank you. Thanks for
let's
having me.
it's my pleasure. I really enjoy chatting with you. So tell us about your books now, right? You've got
Yeah.
one published and one in the works, right?
Yes. So, my debut is My Grumpy Editor. It is a closed door Christian romance between a writer and an editor. Yep. And so that one has very, I guess people have been calling it a rom-com. It's in the vein of rom-coms. I didn't specifically market it as a rom-com because there's some heavier topics in it. Um, which aren't exactly a secret. Like it is in the blurb that Abby is assaulted. And so that's a major theme in the book. So I didn't really want to market it as like a fluffy, like lighthearted, because it is at some points, like it does have funny moments. I like to balance the story like with, humor and heart, but also like grit and grace, because I like reading about like deeper topics. And I think that there are some people who read for an escape from that kind of thing. And then there are some people who really enjoy reading about, things that happen in real life. And I really wanted to approach that from a biblical perspective because I think there's a lot of things that are said about particular topics from a worldly perspective, but there's not a lot of literature about something like sexual assault from like a biblical perspective. So I didn't intend for that to happen in that book because I'm a pantser, but that's kind of where God led that story. So, yeah. And then my current work in progress is It's Always Been You. And that is well, that one is still in the works. So I don't want to give too much away about it, but it is like a brother's best friend, doctor assistant, kind of similar, kind of grit, grace, humor, heart, all that. So.
So another kind of workplace romance, right?
Yeah, I love workplace romance. It's the forced proximity that, like the constant togetherness because for me, when I read a romance, I get really frustrated if the two main characters don't have a lot of screen time together. And so I think workplace romances are really great because they're forced together, like they're constantly together because they work together.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I love it too because my husband and I met working together.
yeah, yeah. Yep.
Oh, so you did touch a little bit on what prompted you to write the type of books that you write, but what
Yeah.
really made you feel like I have to write? I have to write, and I have to write about this.
Yeah, so I've always been writing. It's always just been a part of me, like since I was little. And I think I never really thought to myself, like, oh, I have a dream of being a published author. It was just kind of something that I knew one day I wanted to do. Like, it wasn't like a conscious thing. I've always been a reader and I've always been a writer. And so I've naturally like writing books just really appealed to me. And so over time I just kept writing and originally I started writing what I would have thought would have been like a fluffy, lighthearted rom-com. But then as I kept writing, I found that like I couldn't separate my faith. I couldn't not talk about Jesus essentially.
Hmm.
when I was writing. And so, like, the story really is just so organic because I'm a pantser and I just went with it. I trusted the process, I trusted Jesus, and I kind of just ended up with what I ended up with. So, it's the most authentic thing I've ever written. And I feel like I've really found my voice as an author, just, being true and authentic to both myself and my faith. So, yeah,
That's wonderful. That's really
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah,
And so, can you tell us a little bit about your publishing journey?
yeah. So I guess for me, I got involved with, so I started a writer's Instagram just to like document my writing and like talk about writing and all of that. And that's how I got introduced to like the indie publishing world. Um, and I had only ever known like traditional publishing up until I joined Instagram and like found this, book community, and Bookstagram, I guess is what it's called. And so indie publishing really kind of came on the scene for me. And I was like, oh, this sounds like something that I want to do because I knew I wanted to be an author, but I also knew that I didn't want to go through the querying process. I think for some authors, being traditionally published is the goal, but that was never really the case for me. I always just wanted to write books. Like it didn't really matter to me how I did it. And I knew that if I self-published, it would just be faster, like I could
Right.
just start my career as an author. It's more of an investment, but I think ultimately it was the right decision for me because I've been writing for a really long time and I felt confident in myself, and my ability to tell a story. And I was like, you know what? I would rather just do it. And it was a huge learning curve, but it was really fun. And fortunately, like I have friends who have gone before me and who have given me advice and kind of, paved the way. So it was really, yeah, it was just a very natural thing. And I really started seriously taking the My Grumpy Editor seriously about a couple of years ago, like right before I think I was pregnant with Daniel when I really started, and he's almost two now. That's when I really started taking the story seriously and working towards publication with it. So I went through like the beta reading process and like all of that, in lieu of like a developmental editor. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah.
That's a great way to go. And I just am so happy to be in this time in history in terms of um, of publishing because I feel like with the independent publishing and the many options that are out there for authors now, we have so many more stories come out into the
Mm,
world, and we have so many more options as readers. And authors also have so many more options. You can still do the traditional route. You can go hybrid, where you've got, some assistance with that along that publishing process.
yeah.
Or you can go fully indie where it's just you, your manuscript, your editors, and and putting it out there, and getting it
Yeah.
into print. It's a really I feel like it's just a great time for authors to be able to not have to be so intimidated by that publishing process anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it could take years, if you do decide to go the traditional publishing route. Like, and there are some people who are really willing to do that. And I was just not one of those people. I'm very impatient. So I am also super thankful for, the options that are there. So
Yeah. And, with traditional publishing, you've got to be writing what they think people want
that's
rather
another thing.
than
Yeah.
just what you feel inspired to write, and
Yes.
I think that especially as a Christian author, that inspiration is key, you know,
Yeah.
it's key. So
Yeah.
good for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so do you feel like you've had a positive experience from this publishing journey so far?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like I was nervous because, I didn't really read a whole lot of Christian romance until I started realizing, oh, what I'm writing is a Christian romance, so I should be reading more Christian
Yes.
romance. And
Hmm.
so I started reading more Christian romance, and then I was really nervous. I was like, oh, I feel like my book is kind of like so most of the Christian romances that I had gotten my hands on, while they were, I don't really know how to describe it. I feel like, and this isn't true for all Christian romances because I've read some really gritty, full of grit and grace romances, in the Christian vein now. But I feel like at the beginning, I was reading more like clean romances that had light faith elements. And there's a huge difference between that and like what I'm writing. And so I felt like I didn't fit in. And so I was nervous to publish my Grumpy Editor, but I've now realized that there's a whole broad spectrum under the Christian romance umbrella. And like there's room for everyone, no
Hmm.
matter what your voice is or what topics you like to write about. And so I feel like God is really helping me find my audience, and I'm so thankful for that. And I feel like the book has been received really well so far. So, yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah,
That's great. Yeah, it's a fun read, Rachel. It's a fun read, but you also, I mean, you handled those the difficult subject of the sexual assault
yeah.
um very well, in my opinion, and also the message of salvation, and
Mm.
it just very authentically, and so um, what was it that made you feel like you needed to include the assault scene
So
and that whole
this,
experience?
yeah. So I honestly did not set out to write about that. So as a pantser, it just naturally happened. It just happened, as I was writing her story. And then I had some feedback from beta readers that said, like some people won't like this. And it really made me question whether I should keep it. But then I thought about it and I was like, well, if I take this experience out, the whole story would fall apart because a lot of what Abby does is in reaction to her fear of confronting the issue and holding that person accountable for what they did.
Yes.
And so, yeah. And so I was like, I think this story is about this. Like I have that topic has always been very close to my heart. I studied women and gender studies in college, and so I knew a lot about the topic, but I had never really explored it from like a biblical perspective or what God had to say about something like this happening to women. And so, and men too. It happens to anyone. It can
Hmm.
happen to anyone. But so again, like once I realized that this was a major part of her story, I really sat on it and I prayed about it and I did some research and then I prayed about it again. And then naturally, as I revised the story, the theme just kept getting stronger and stronger. And actually, the conversation that Abby has with her mom at the end of the story was one of the last things that I added to the story. I just felt like the arc there was incomplete without her having this conversation with her mother to validate her from a godly perspective because she had gone through it and she held that person accountable and he, all that stuff, not to give too many spoilers away, but
Yeah, exactly.
um, I felt like that conversation was the most vital part of that arc for her. And so I hope I did it justice. And but again, I didn't choose to write about that. I just trusted the process, trusted Jesus, and prayed and like let go, let God kind of thing.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Well, that scene between her and her mom just really touched my heart and just really made me look at um, the voices we listen to, right? And how how people can often feel like they are responsible for what somebody else did to them.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how you handled that was just beautiful, really beautiful. It was a very heartfelt and powerful scene. And if for me, from the perspective of a mother of young adult women, as
Mhm.
well as coming up, as a young woman myself and experiencing some of that sort of, that sort of energy, for
Mm,
lack of a better way of putting it. But I
yeah.
thought you did a beautiful job with it, and I would, I think that
Mm,
the message is really important. It's a really
yeah.
important message you convey there. So definitely encourage readers to pick this up
Yeah.
and um, get that perspective because it's really important. And so, do you have any advice for new authors?
Oh, I love this question. I do have a lot of advice, but I guess the main one is that, and it sounds really cliche, but like the writers who succeed are the ones who just never give up. Like it's essentially like boils down to like if you really want to be a writer, keep writing. Like that's it. Just read a lot, write a lot, find your voice, and just like keep going. And I'm still there. Like I'm not like, sitting over here and being like, all like say like a wise old person that's been, through the, publishing process a million times. Like I've only published one book, but I will say that I've been, a copywriter and a content writer. And like the only way that I got that job was I just kept writing and I just kept applying. Like I got so many rejections for jobs as a writer, but like if you really desire to like go there and be an author, just keep writing and like refining your craft and just never give up.
Great. That's great
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
And so, you published, My Grumpy Editor has been out for a month today, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And so, what's next? You kind of hinted to that a little bit, but what's next?
Yeah. So It's Always Been You is up next, and I'm hoping. I know I have a baby on the way and a toddler, so this is wishful thinking, but I really want to publish it by November because it's set during Christmas time. It's like a holiday book. So that one is also this one is very different from My Grumpy Editor. My Grumpy Editor is more like fun and humorous. And I feel like this book, while there's also humorous like elements, I think Evie is very funny. She's got a very dry, sarcastic sense of humor, and she just comes out with things that are really funny. But in my opinion, but her story is really it's about self-harm and depression, and there are a lot of things going on in this book, but chronic pain. She deals with chronic pain. And so, like, that's a major theme in the book as well. And so, her story is just a little bit more sad. um, and it's been interesting to write it. But honestly, and I was nervous about writing it because it's so different. And like, you're told as an author to have a brand. And like, this book could not feel more different from My Grumpy Editor.
Mm.
And so I'm just kind of, trying to feel it out and I'm hoping it will be received well. But yeah, so that's what it's about. And I've got a blurb going and all the things. So we're chugging away.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good. I hope you're able to achieve that goal and you're wise to factor in what's going on in your family right now and give yourself some
Yeah.
wiggle room and some grace. But I'm sure you'll be able to make it happen. It's wonderful you have your husband's support the way you do. That's wonderful.
Mm. Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Good, good. So, where can people find you and learn more about you and your books?
Yeah, so I'm mainly active in two places. One is Instagram, so it's just at author Rachel Chamberlain, and Chamberlain is spelled kind of funny. It's Chamberlayne. Um, and then so like I'm constantly on Instagram, and then my website as well, which is just my name, rachelchamberlain.com. I blog there. I try to blog regularly, but writing the book takes precedence, so that kind of takes a back seat. But yeah, I really enjoy blogging, so you can find me there too.
Cool. Well, very good. It's just a pleasure to chat with you, and I'm so delighted that the Lord brought our paths to cross because
Yeah.
it's just really fun to follow you and see what's going on in your writing experience and see how these characters just are so alive in your imagination and how they really do just it's fascinating to me how characters just really take on a life of their own in an author's experience. It's just fascinating to me. So it's really fun to watch you and talk to you about
Yeah.
what's going on. So
Thank you so much. This was
well,
fun.
I'm so glad. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you have a lovely day, and we'll see you on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Okay, take care.
Okay. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.